What is up, guys? It's Studio Poker here, back for another video. Today we are going to be talking about a new series. It's called Breaking Down Flops in 3-Bet Pots, and this is part 1. We're going to be taking a very common formation and dissect the flops so we understand why we're betting, why we're checking, and what hands we should be betting and checking. So let's take a button versus small blind 3-bet spot and look over this flop. We are in the small blind. The button is a reg. He RFIs 2.5x. We have our range, and we 3-bet to 12 big blinds. Big blind folds, and the button calls. The flop comes 9 of clubs, 6 of clubs, 3 of spades. Now, the first thing we need to note is that this is almost always betting big on the flop. It's very important to understand c-bet sizing and also why we are going big. To get in a more accurate sizing, what we're going to do is we're going to go into the AI, and it's going to choose one sizing for our c-bet sizing. So we go into the AI, we create a solution, and we see that the AI chooses 2/3 sizing. Very important to be going big on this board. Why are we going big on this board? Well, we have to understand that the solver has already seen the turn in the river. One of the main reasons we go big on this board texture is because we're going to be jamming all in on a lot of turns. What kind of turns? Well, any spade really, except maybe an ace of spades, but a lot of spades, a lot of 8x, 7x, 5x, 4x. So any dynamic turn, we are going to want to push our equity with a hand like jacks, queens, kings, and aces. So that is one of the main reasons we go big on the flop, because the solver knows that we are jamming a bunch of turns. Now let's go over the exact c-bet frequency and range composition. Some counterintuitive things happen on this board texture. The first thing you might notice is that you're not really betting. Sorry, I just want to make sure you guys can see this. You're not really betting your ace king of clubs. Your ace queen of clubs is being checked more than bet. Your ace jack of clubs is the same thing. What's going on with all this checking with ace high flush draws? You even see it with ace king. Ace of clubs, king x almost never bets. Because, why? Because we have to look at the calling range. If I bet 2/3 on the flop, what hand does button call me with that is the weakest part of his range? Ace of clubs, queen x, ace of clubs, jack x. That's the weakest part of his calling range. We want to keep the weakest part of his calling range in the hand. So what we do is we do not bet our ace of clubs, king x, because that blocks the weak part of his range. The same thing happens here with the ace king of clubs. We do not bet our ace high flush draw on the flop very often. Because why? Because a hand like king of clubs, queen x, ace of clubs, queen x will be calling us on the flop, and those are very weak holdings. We don't want to strengthen our opponent's range. So what we do is we don't really bet our ace high flush draws that often. These are mostly checked. So once we understand what the button's defending range is, we know what to do. We can spot the pattern that, okay, now I'm not going to bet my ace of clubs, king x. I'm not really going to bet my ace king of clubs because I want my opponent to have ace of clubs, queen x, and ace of clubs, jack x. This will give us a deeper understanding of the spot. So this is the same pattern you see. These hands, except maybe ace 4, but most of the ace of clubs hands are going to be checked more than bet. This is a really important way to understand the flop. So 2 important points, guys. Let's go over our notes. We want to understand that in poker, we're going to learn in a sequential order. Once you understand pre-flop, we move to the flop. But flops are very counterintuitive. On the 9-6-3 board, two-tone, we know we only go big because we're jamming a bunch of turns. We're going to be jamming a flush draw, a second flush draw, a 3 to a straight. We have a lot of hands in our range, like jacks, queens, kings, and aces that want to jam turns, so we go big on the flop. Secondly, you don't want to bet your ace high flush draws that often because the weakest parts of your opponent's range has an ace of clubs in them. So you'd rather c bet a hand like ace king of spades than ace king of clubs on a 9 of clubs, 6 of clubs, 3 of spades board. You want to keep the weak parts in and you want to get rid of the strong parts. That's why we don't c bet ace of clubs, king x, but we'll see bet a hand like ace of x, king of spades. So these are two important things to understand. Once we understand how to play flops, we move on to the turn, but flops are very non-intuitive. So once we understand the blockers, we can play flops much better. If you enjoy this type of content, please give me a like, please give me a subscribe. New video every single day, 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.